Oh, I'll do the intro this time. 5, 4, 3. Howdy, gang. I don't know. Welcome back to another episode of Fast Charging with B&B. I am Brian. Howdy, Bear. How are you this week, my friend?
I'm doing good. It was a crazy week. Lots of things to do. Lots of things going on in the news.
Yeah.
So you want to get right into it?
I do. I think what would be great to do is talk briefly before we get into the title of my video, which is why Lucid and Rivian are not overpriced, is cover the big news. Apparently, Lucid got an SEC subpoena. Bear, what does it mean?
It means that the SEC is going to be looking at the documents and how they got all their money, whether there's something fishy. I know Warren's probably going to have 50 videos on this, but right now it kind of means nothing because
it kind of does.
It's there's an investigation, and sometimes they turn up nothing. Tesla's had a lot of investigations by NHTSA, and they turn up nothing all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And an investigation doesn't mean that there's fire. It just means that there's something that should be looked at and is. For that matter, SEC is reportedly investigating Tesla over its solar panels' potential fire risk. Also, kind of no big deal.
Yes,
certainly not something that would move the stock price.
I don't think it made any effect. I did, going through this article, it does make you question what was going on with the solar panels. Walmart said they had some problems. Some guy complained, and then he blew the whistle on him. Then they fired him. So, we'll have to just see how this comes out. This may not even make the news when Tesla gets a slap on the wrist and pays a fine for something like this, though it shouldn't happen if there are problems where the solar panels are causing fires. Yes, they should be notifying people.
Absolutely.
How big of a problem it was, we don't know. Maybe Tesla was aware that it only affected a certain group of panels, and that's why they didn't notify everybody, because the whistleblower wanted everything shut off that had the solar panels because of a problem. So maybe he was overreacting, maybe not. But he also got fired for that. So,
right. In terms of both Lucid and Tesla, I don't think these are issues to worry about. So
I don't either.
So the big thing that Bear and I figured out together is, do you know that Amazon is now shipping cargo for outside customers in its latest move to compete with FedEx and UPS? Do you know they have their own airline, their own fleet of planes?
They've got their own fleet of planes, boats, the kind of trains. We kind of get trains out of this because they're making their own containers and they're getting put on trains. You want to talk about that and how what they're doing? It's kind of like Tesla when they didn't have the chips, they adapted. And
exactly.
They rewrote the code to work on different chips. So Amazon's big thing is shipping, and they can't get the shipping the way they want it, so they're basically rewriting how shipping is done.
So the reason we're talking about Amazon is if you were to value Amazon as a website or a bookstore or a retailer, you would miss the picture. So why is Tesla worth more than Toyota, Ford, and GM combined? Why is Rivian or Nikola or why are these valuations so high? If you look at Amazon, it's many things. It's Amazon Fresh, Amazon Prime, Amazon Web Services, which runs like 20% of the entire internet. They've got music, they've got everything, but what they really need is shipping. And when they saw that the shipping containers weren't coming back, they had their own shipping containers made. And if you look at this picture here on this Conbuck article, you'll see those are Amazon shipping containers, and that's a crane. They can offload in any port. So while in Long Beach there's sometimes a 45-day delay to get into port, these have an average delay of 2 days. They converted ships, they found ports that weren't busy, and their goods just plain come in, and that's why Amazon's valuable, which leads us to the valuation of companies like Lucid. What do you
Lucid
think?
is not.
Yeah, go ahead. What
Well,
is? Tell me about it.
Lucid's plan is not just to be a car company. Their plan is to be a software company, just like Tesla. I mean, they are trying to follow in their footsteps. A successful plan, let's follow it. But in same thing with energy. Lucid started off as a battery company years ago. So they have a large knowledge of batteries, and they want to have something similar to Tesla, where Tesla has Tesla Energy. They want to have Lucid Energy and doing the mega packs, whatever they're going to call them. They're going to call them something else. But
Sure.
they're along the lines of doing the same thing is having an energy company, whether they are going to take other steps and go into solar. Um, None of that's been said. So
Exactly.
I'm not saying it, but they've got the ability to go there
And if they've
in that
got
direction.
exactly, if they've got great battery technology, a logical next step is to get into energy, and that is a much bigger total addressable market than vehicles alone, and really maybe even than vehicles entirely. And for that matter, our good friends over at Nikola, they're not just a trucking company. They're also doing autonomous, they're doing hydrogen, and not just hydrogen, but hydrogen infrastructure. That gets them into the business against people like Shell and BP.
Yeah.
So these aren't,
They're,
yeah, these aren't
Go ahead.
just one kind of company. They're a bundle of companies together.
Nikola is teaming up with TC Energy, which makes pipelines. They were the people behind the Keystone pipeline that was canceled, and they're going to work with them. And if TC Energy can make pipelines, they can make for oil. They can make pipelines for hydrogen. It's probably easier and cheaper than oil. But the energy grant that the energy department grant that Nikola got for $2 million, autonomous hydrogen refueling, which is where you're pulling up to a station and the system there can connect to your truck automatically and then just fuel you up.
Right.
One of Nikola's goals is to have a standard that goes across every hydrogen vehicle. So unlike Tesla has the Tesla adapter, and you need that if you want to use a Tesla supercharger. Once they start letting other brands use them, you're going to need to have that adapter. So Nikola wants to avoid that by having the same standard everywhere, and it makes sense. I hate having 18 USB cables for 18 different devices. If everything was on the same thing, it would be great. And it's going to work the same way if they can get that going for how to fuel up a hydrogen vehicle. I mean, they have a standard. If you want unleaded gas, there's a standard type of nozzle that goes in. Same thing with diesel fuel.
Standard
So
grades, standard everything.
yeah. Well, diesels supposedly you can't put diesel into a gas vehicle, but you can put gas into a diesel, which is too bad it's that way. It's
Yeah,
the
that was an
wrong way.
oversight. That was an
Yeah,
oversight.
it should have gone the other way.
So I've got a comment here. It's not against Shell and BP. Natural gas lines could be converted or used. Natural gas can be converted or used to convert hydrogen. And for that matter, maybe the pipelines themselves could be used. But we're not seeing Shell and BP making big strides in this direction yet. But that would give someone like Nikola a first mover advantage. And I would
Well,
say that it's not about whether or not these things are on the immediate horizon. It's about what investors see in it. And if investors see this future and believe in this, a lot of people did not believe in companies like Tesla for a very long time. If they can see it and they can believe in it, the share price will support it. Whether or not I do or you do or the analysts do is secondary.
agreed. And one reason Shell or the other big oil companies may not be doing things like this is because I'm not sure that they actually make the pipelines. They may be hiring companies like TC Energy to actually do it. And if TC Energy and other companies like that, pipeline companies, are the ones that are going to be doing that, Shell and BP, they're going to kind of get pushed out. And they've got a lot of income that they're going to be losing. They need to change the way they're creating, finding energy, because oil's not going to work out for them in the long run. And TC Energy is basically the supplier that builds the pipelines. They're going to be around in 50 years, where a company like Shell, if there's no demand for oil, they may not be. So
I did get a comment saying LPG line would not be suitable for hydrogen. Thank you for that correction, Rail. I appreciate that. Mario says BP and Daimler have a partnership for hydrogen trucking infrastructure in the UK. So when technology comes to one place, it comes to all places. That's the beauty of the ever-shrinking world.
Yes, it is. JJ had a comment, and he actually had a super chat, and I thank you for that, JJ. But this question was to you, Brian.
He gave me a super chat. Did he give you one as well, or just
yes,
me?
Yes, he did. Thank you, JJ, for that.
Oh, I see. No, he gave it to you. I see. I've got my screens backwards here.
Okay.
That's funny. Funny.
Well, you see the question there.
I see the question. Has Brain bought Nikola yet? Brain has not. Brain doesn't have any money to play around with right now. I put a little bit into PLTR, which is done fantastic if you're into negative gains. So I have not bought Nikola. We will go into Nikola quite a bit almost immediately here, right after this segment. But I have not. And without, $1.99 chats, man, I don't know how I could afford to.
Yeah. Well, five times that and you can get a share.
That's right. Well, and the thing is, so kind of what we're getting at here is, if you're going to value Nikola as a coach builder, they're miserably overpriced. If you're going to price them as an autonomous trucking company with a hydrogen advantage, and hydrogen comes along, and they can refuel autonomously, the value doesn't look quite as crazy.
Yes, especially if you eventually take the driver out of the cab and they're just driving around refueling. Someone they pull up somewhere, it gets unloaded, and then they move on.
And at that point, do you even sell the trucks, or do you lease them?
No, you lease them.
You would lease them.
Leasing is horrible for the person getting the lease. They're called fleeces. I'm sure you've heard that. But the people doing the lease on the other side, they make tons of money. So
people wouldn't do them if it wasn't beneficial to both. There are times when it makes sense and times when it doesn't. Especially with a new product, a lot of Mach-E's go out on lease because some buyers are hesitant to go all in on tech that new without an option to just hand it back at the end of 3 years.
You know what's funny? If you were to lease a Tesla now, shouldn't the payment be like near zero? Because it's all based on
because the residual is so high. That's funny.
So shouldn't the car be free? My payment's $1.48 for my Model S because I know it's gonna. They feel like it's gonna be worth $90,000 when I turn it in 2 years.
So JJ gave me a super chat.
Oh,
when you gonna buy Nikola? What do you think, Bear? When should I buy Nikola?
As long as if you're gonna buy it, you got to buy it in the $10 range or lower, and that's where it is right now. So
okay, JJ, we'll talk about it again at the end of the show. You gotta give me a few minutes to think.
Full disclosure, I took my Rivian profits and I put it all into Nikola when it was like $10-20 a share. So I'm hoping that we go up now because I still see that as their low end. I know it went down into the 9s the other day, but took all my Rivian profits and just rolled it right into there. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, hopefully good things.
We'll see. So, you know what's next, Bear?
I do. The fun thing. And I'm getting it up on my screen.
I'm just rolling the clip.
I'm going from about 2 minutes. I'm going to turn off my volume.
Yeah.
There we go. And I've got Sandy jumping in the truck and doing the burnout. Where did you start from?
Down here is my engineering screen. So most of the signals I'm looking at here,
Yeah,
Getting set up for ADAS at all?
that burnout was pretty cool. And if you
Yeah.
go back and you look at
I believe lane departure warning.
some of my videos,
Yeah.
you can see that burnout line there in the
Well, I know
factory
when
grounds.
most-
It would be on the north side. So that was pretty cool. I think it's pretty impressive that they were able to just do burnouts in a semi without souping it up. I've seen semis do burnouts, but it was always something souped up on a drag race. You ever see semi drag races?
I haven't seen that. I know that
Yeah.
the burnouts I've seen were I think they changed the gearing or something.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
they're definitely on modified vehicles.
Not
the
stock.
Flames coming out of the stacks and things like that. It's all for show. And semi drag races just aren't all that fast when it comes down to it. But that's a stock battery electric vehicle, and he's just spinning the tires. I like that they talked about the regenerative braking, and that they've got 6 levels of it. And one thing I'm curious about is why they have 6 different levels. The guy driving, showing Sandy the who did the first drive and the burnout, he said that he always keeps it at the highest setting, and I would too. But I'm wondering if there's times like maybe in ice or rainy conditions that you wouldn't want it at the highest settings, because I think I would keep it at the highest settings. So I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's because you're going to have different drivers in the truck every day, and every driver has a different flavor, a different style. So they can't. If the truck were to learn your driving habits and adapt, it wouldn't help without driver profile setup, which is easier to just have a stock with 6 settings on it. And one driver may have different preferences. Sometimes I set my cabin temp at 72, and sometimes I set it at 68. You could have the car smart enough to just adapt, but some level of control is still.
The thing I don't like about it is you're going to get a driver who's not going to turn it on because he doesn't like it. He's not used to it. And now you've reduced the range of the vehicle significantly.
Yes, but I think that would be noticed by management within 2 trips.
It would be when they're stuck on the side of the road because they ran out of range. Because I don't know how much range it's going to add over the course of 300 miles or 500 miles. It may not add much at all, no matter what, because if you're doing freeway driving, you may not hit those brakes very often.
I think
So
an
not make
established
much of a
driver
difference.
would treat it like downshifting.
Well, yeah.
I did get a
Unless
good
you're-
comment. Or did you? No, I think I got it. What is
I'm looking at mine.
what's their so it's all in your thesis? What are Lucid and Rivian's moat? What's their hill to die on for intellectual property? So Lucid has race pedigree. They apparently have exceptional battery management and efficiency, but that's not a moat. That's just helpful. Their moat is, for both of them, for Rivian, Nikola, Lucid, and anyone who is a pure EV play, their moat is that they're actually doing it, that they're actually taking the steps. Where, we've got other companies who are doing nothing, who are doing half measures at most. Look at, I'm going to jump over to that Toyota link we've got, Bear.
You want to go to Toyota? Okay.
Yeah. Toyota to build $1.3 billion battery plant in North Carolina, capable of handling 200,000 pure EVs in a bunch of years, maybe in 2025. 200,000? That's a fraction of that's like less than half of what Fremont alone makes now. And, well, maybe we could stretch it out into hybrids. Oh, not hybrids. Please stop with the hybrids. So this is a step in the right direction, but compared to Toyota's total production, it is a joke.
It absolutely is. And speaking of production and making promises, maybe that's a good segue for us to jump around a little bit
Yeah.
and go into the GM and the
Oh,
Chevy
sure.
Bolt, followed by the other article about their promises. So looking at the Chevy Bolt article that production will resume in the last week of January. Of course, this is what they're hoping for. This doesn't mean that it'll actually happen. And assuming that it does happen, that's great. They need to get the thing going. They're all waiting on the LG batteries to be reproduced because they have to replace every single one of them. I'm still waiting on my LG battery for my home. I think I mentioned that on every single one. The battery that I have for my solar panel in my house is an LG battery, and it also was recalled. And they've nerfed it so that I don't get as much power out of this 9.6 kilowatt battery that I have. So thank you, LG. I would like you to pay about $100 on my electric bill every month for what that's cost me. But
from that article, Bear, right above the video is, with about 140,000 cars in the wild, there are still a lot of batteries left to swap out. If you need to replace 140,000 batteries, that's 140,000 cars you can't make new.
Yeah.
And it's crushing. It's crushing. But on the plus side, Mary Barra, she led, and that matters.
Mary Barra, was she in charge of GM in 2017? I don't know. Does anybody know that?
I don't think she was. I think she's newer than that, in that position.
Okay.
I want to say, somebody tell us in the chat who the CEO was in 2017, or just who the previous guy was. The previous guy, who was absolutely despised Tesla, came out after he left to say, I actually looked at one for the first time in a parking lot, and you know what? It looks great. The panels line up. I don't know what people are talking about. And I was thinking, you don't know the car you're trying to beat with your Bolt and Volt and all your jokey little joke cars. I think that's a problem, man.
You got to know your competition. And the last part of GM promised 20 new EVs by 2023, and they can't get one out. Right. They can't get the Bolt out right now, which, every time these companies come out and say, this is what we're going to do by this year, you got to take it with a grain of salt because they're not doing it. Tesla included, they're behind on their production and their delivery promises also. Everyone's behind on it. But Tesla is working a different way. You can see them actually trying to produce these things and making progress towards it. GM promising 20 new EVs in 2017 is a nothing. You can just say that and you can walk away from the statement and you're doing nothing to follow it up. And that's what we see here, because it is now 4 years later, almost 5, and it's just not there. Nothing is there.
So
except for the Chevy Bolt.
There's a couple chats on your channel I wanted to address. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know, before we get into this, this is simulcast on Bear's Workshop and My Tesla Weekend. What are we doing? Making it complicated for no reason? No, for all the reasons. For fun, of course. For fun. And I don't know if you know this, but Bear is trying to get to 10,000 subs by the end of the year, and he only needs like another 220, 30, something like that. So it'd be, it's not like they give you a medal at 10,000 subs, but it's a really neat milestone to hit, and he's so close. So at least consider, link in the description, of course, as always. So
you're gonna send me a rechargeable battery.
Yeah. So So the comment I saw on your channel was, Boss USA says Nikola needs more cash, and Don't Care says money's not going to be a problem because they will secure orders this year.
Boss says, I hope so. But what I saw today was an article about Nikola, and analysts, and I honestly, I find this hard to believe, but analysts believe that Nikola is going to have income of next year of $148 million. And unless they get the production line up and running in Germany, I don't see how they're going to produce that many trucks, because it was a large amount of trucks that they would have to produce at $300,000 a truck. I think it was close to 500 to get that kind of income. And I don't know what their plans are. I don't have that much insight into the factory, but I know that the factory here in Coolidge does not have a production line. Everything's hand assembled right now.
Right.
phase one will be complete by the end of January, and then they're going right into the next phase. And that phase is going to have their production line. That's going to take all of next year to complete. So either they're going to have to have some of it automated, or maybe really get in tune with how to make these trucks by hand quickly, and maybe they will. But that's a lot of trucks to put out, and I know Germany has a production line. We've seen it. They just need to scale it up.
So 10 a week is not impossible, but it is if the first quarter you're only making 1 a week or 2. It means you've got to double it by the end of the year. So that might be that does seem like a tough sell. What I prefer to look at, honestly, is run rate. Because if you hit X run rate, if you hit 10 a week, then the next year is 500.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Lockbert said phase 1 will probably duplicate the Germany plant in Ulm. And maybe. I don't know if they have permission to do that from Iveco, but maybe.
But the next set of plans is a production area for phase 2, and it's going to be probably about the same size of what they've got going on there now. So it's going to be a very decent addition. It's going to complete the west side building, which I don't know off the top of my head, but that's probably about 200 or 100,000 square foot. And then they're starting on the other side. They should be starting on the other side as part of that phase, and that's going to be another few 100,000 square feet. So it's definitely going to give them a lot of room. They just got to get all the equipment in there and scale that stuff up and get it going.
Sure. And Lockbert also added, phase 1, Ulm is a small building. Ulm is only projected by Russell to make 2 trucks a year in 2023.
2 trucks a week.
Yes, 2 trucks a week in 2022, I think is the correction.
Yes.
So that's not enough. 100 trucks, 300,000, it's 30 million. That's not going to get you there.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised if their capacity is going to be that low. 52 trucks
It's
a year.
Well, times 2. So the capacity of Don't Care says the capacity of phase 1 is supposed to be 2,500 trucks a year. I haven't seen recent figures, and I'm not sure I've seen any figures. Does that sound like something you've heard, Bear?
No, I haven't heard it. Doesn't mean it's not true.
Right.
But for what they're adding on right now, I would just have to see.
Well, a line is a whole different beast than hand assembly.
Yeah. A production line requires a lot, and there's going to be a lot of equipment that is needed for that.
I got to tour Arcimoto's factory last summer. They were still very much in the hand assembly phase. Their new building, their new factory is supposed to start. They're supposed to start moving in now-ish, at least as of July. And what they were doing there was very much hand assembly, very slow and painful. Don't Care says they said it on the earnings call. So I think 2,500 out of phase 1 would be quite a challenge. I think that'd be a lot.
Well, I do know that there is a decent amount of production equipment that's already been delivered. Mm-hmm. It's sitting in the section where phase 2 is going to go next year. So they've had that stuff since midsummer, and at first I was wondering why it wasn't brought into the factory, and then I was told that is for the next phase, and that will be going in for that. They just, for whatever reason, they received it early, which is good in this day and age, because you order a pencil, it might take you a month to get it.
Sure.
So they've got a lot of the production equipment there ready to go. So hopefully they'll be able to ramp that up pretty quickly, and it's just going to be another wait and see.
You know what I think would be cool?
Though, it's not a huge amount of space that they're adding on. I mean, it is if you were going to live there and set up a couch, but for a factory,
right? For a factory building very large pieces of equipment. You know what I think would be cool?
What's that?
If you were to like buy a toy, a very cool toy, and then make a series of videos about it.
You know, I was thinking about doing that. That is so weird that you bring that up.
It is.
Because the CyberQuad for kids is out. Anybody else see this? What do you guys think about this? And before you say anybody who would buy that would be a moron, don't say that in the chat, because I bought one. And estimated shipping in 2 to 4 weeks. So we are going to have a CyberQuad for kids. I am over the weight limit, but we're going to test this thing out. And I'm going to do a video putting it together. I'm going to do a video of me driving it. I'm going to do a video of my kids driving it. And then we'll probably at some point have a video of me rolling it, because that's what happens. So we're going to test out the top speed. We're going to test out how much range we get. We're going to have to figure out how many laps around my house is 15 miles, because we're just going to go in circles until that battery dies. Keep in mind that I'm over the weight limit. Just a little bit. What do you think about this, Brian?
Well, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a great way to build hype on the product. I think it's more expensive than a CyberWhistle, but it's, yeah, I mean, why not? Get in on the merch while you can. There's so much opportunity between, the Tesla Tequila bottle. The Tesla Tequila cracked me up because it was not only just any old tequila, but then they realized with all the hassle of shipping alcohol across some state borders and even indefinitely national borders, just sell the bottle. That's what people want.
Yeah. And you know what? I've got a fear of loss syndrome where I did not get the tequila bottle. I did not get the CyberWhistle. So when this popped up, I'm like, I am not losing out. From my understanding, they released this, they sold out, then they extended it again, and then it sold out, and it hasn't popped up again. So $1,900 for a toy. I hope that wasn't a mistake. But it's hopefully the videos will do real well. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Maybe.
Maybe
And again,
maybe
you
I'll be
guys,
the first one to get it.
You got to subscribe to the old Bear Rhubarb there so that you can see he's going to be unboxing. He's going to be driving in circles. He's going to be hurting himself.
I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to break a hip, an arm. I don't know. Something's going to break on me. I'm probably not going to wear a helmet because I've got to go find one. And I think there's probably spiders in it or something.
Oh, well, that's even better. Tyler Dunford asked, what is the range? We don't know. It's not published, but Bear's going to find out. Oh, it is?
Yes, we do. It's 15 miles of range and a top speed of 10 miles per hour. Now, I don't know if that's 10 miles per hour will get you 15 miles of range. So it might be 15 miles of range at 2 miles per hour. So,
right. And I'd like to point out that my 2008 Zenn Electric did not have 15 miles of range. And I had 6 150 amp hour batteries in it, like deep cycle, marine style, like very expensive batteries. And it got, by the end of 8-ish miles, you were struggling to stay above 20. And it had a top speed of 35. I did see 36 once. So
is that for people who live right next to where they work?
Well, it was supposed to have 25 miles of range with regular car batteries. It just never did. And it was for, I don't know who it was for. It was for people who didn't like their money, I guess. I
guess that was you.
Yeah. Well, I got it for $3,000.
What'd you sell it for?
$1,000. Because
how long did you have it?
3-4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's not that bad.
I had to fire sale it because I was moving. And I had no time. And if I just went and got the batteries, because I sold it not running because the batteries had died. But
okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't just charge them up for a test drive?
Nope. They would not take a charge.
They were dead, huh?
They were dead.
Well, maybe if you had a Rivian, you could tow it.
I could. How far could I tow it before I need to recharge?
Oh, well, it's funny you should ask, because that definitely brings up our next article.
Yeah.
We did talk about this last week about the Rivian lost 62% of its charge, but this is the entire video, and this was what is this, fast lane trucks, or who is this? On Inside EVs, they did a whole video on the Rivian towing that same Mustang, and apparently they had to stop every 100 miles or so to get charged up, and that was one issue. And you want to tell them the other issue? Because I've mentioned this before the Cybertruck comes out, they've got to address this issue, and that is charging when you're towing something.
Oh, there are very, very few pull-through chargers anywhere.
Yeah.
And that is, if you're going to have to unhook every 2 hours, if you have to cross country with this and unhook and rehook 27 times, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
So they didn't unhook every time, but the picture I'm showing, they just pulled up and they blocked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots, and the Rivian charger's in the front, so they were able to just go ahead and plug it in the front on a couple of them, and then back out with the trailer. But that's also risky. A single axle trailer is very hard to back up. They like to jackknife. Dual axle trailers, like the one in this picture, those back up a lot easier if you need to. But that has to be addressed by Tesla. It has to be addressed by Electrify America. Anybody who uses these and wants to tow. There was an article that came out today, and I couldn't find it. I only saw the title, and then I was able to get snippets of it. And it said that the Ford CEO says that they have customers that aren't ready for EVs. And they're talking about the people living out in the farms and that have to tow all the time. And they're towing 15, 20,000 pound cargoes, towing horses and things like this. This is part of the problem that's going to prevent electric vehicles from getting out to those areas. You've got the range issue, but if you've got someone pulling a Super Duty sized truck up to a charging station with a horse trailer that's 30 feet long, you cannot expect them to unhook these trailers. You're messing with the horses, and it will piss them off, and it just can cause problems because you have to take care of those horses while you're driving. It's live cargo. There's just so many factors. You got to have drive-through charging stations, and they'll need to be faster, because you can't have long lines of 45 minutes. 45 minutes is fine when I'm charging my Tesla when I'm on a road trip, because we'll sit there, we'll eat, we'll go to the bathroom, and we'll come back. But if you're on a moving line, because there's only 5 lanes or 6 lanes because they're drive-throughs, it's going to be an issue, and it needs to be solved. Elon, that's a small problem, but it's a big problem. You figure everything else out, like how to go to Mars. Figure it out. You like the Mars throw-in?
I didn't care for it at all. I got a little bit of pushback on my recent Mars article, my video about that, but I'm addressing it. You
guys should go out and take a look at his Mars article and see what he has to say about that.
Yeah, I got some love in that one, or rather, whatever the opposite of that would be. So now I do want to point out that I am not criticizing Rivian for having a paltry towing range. This is a first generation vehicle. It meets my expectations. This is their Tesla OG Roadster. That car this is a much more refined first effort than we've seen,
Well, Lucid had a very refined first effort.
Yes, but we haven't seen tests like this.
No, we haven't. And we haven't seen any tests really from
so
Lucid.
When we saw just the review and drive, it looked every bit as refined as this, as Lucid, I mean. It's just when you get it out in the real world, things change. The good news on Lucid, for those who don't watch Bear's flyover videos, is they are absolutely in production.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you tell us about that? Even though that's not
well,
on our list.
Yeah, it's not on our list, but we could talk about that. So we drove by yesterday. We didn't have a scheduled flyover, but we did drive by because we just want to get a car count. And in the parking lot last week, there was 80 cars on last Wednesday. Some of those cars were removed by Friday, and judging by just where they were parked, we could see that there was only 11 cars left out of those 80 that were produced last week, and there's probably more than 80 produced. But when we happened to catch them, we caught 80. So there was 11 cars out of those 80, and then there was another 32 that were between Friday and Monday just showed up. So they are producing the cars there. They are wrapping them up, and they're getting them shipped out.
And 30
Where the
cars is like
deliveries are, I don't know.
and 30 cars is like $5 million.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it is.
they're going to be showing revenue this quarter, which is exciting. If you were to ask me what I think of the long-term prospects of Lucid, I would say I don't know, but I can tell you today they are making and apparently selling cars. Bear, you got a super chat from JJ that you need to address.
Oh, look at that. I moved my chat screen over to the far right by accident today, and I can't get it out. So it's like a mile away from me going that way. That's why I keep turning my head all the way over. Is the Nikola factory walkthrough still happening? JJ, I hope it is, but I've reached out to the two people that I'm supposed to reach out to, and I haven't gotten anything back. And my last reach out was last week. And I'm hoping that something comes up and they'll give me a call, because they're the one who reached out to me in the first place, offering me the walkthrough. I didn't ask them. They reached out to me. So I'm hoping something can change on that. And maybe we'll get that walkthrough, because last time they promised me anything, they said March. And that was a couple months ago. I don't really want to wait till March.
The
Lockbird.
Yeah, what you got there?
I was just going to go through some of these chats
Sure.
here. Because they're so far away, I'm straining my neck to see them. This is not going to happen next week, guys. I'm going to have the chats. Yeah, I am, Brian. Yeah. I'm going to have like a heads-up display of my chats. It's going to show me my speed limit, my speed, and my chats.
Mm-hmm.
Heads-up display. I'm going to be wearing goggles. Let's see. Lockbird commented on SpaceX struggling. Did you see that email that was sent out?
I did, and I would put it in the same category as the other doom and gloom ones he sent out to Tesla, which are more about motivation than about actual impending doom. SpaceX could raise another $30 billion without even going public if they so desired. To pretend that it's not financially viable today, he's like, well, it's, we have, 100,000 subscribers. We need millions. Right, you have 100,000 in a handful of markets. Those same satellites can cover different people in every market already. So it's, not, there's no doom and gloom. He wants more Raptors. He needs more Raptors. He's about to dump 27 Raptors in the ocean. He needs more engines.
Yeah, I definitely scratched my head on that. I'm sure they've got reasons for doing that, but they are dumping them in the ocean.
Well,
and I'm not even sure if they are. I mean,
yeah, no,
that's
they
what
are.
it comes down to.
It's just the recovery system is not. It needs more testing before attempting recovery, or they'll just blow up Starbase Boca Chica.
They would blow up something, that is true. Mark Hickman says, it was a small RV trailer, but I unhooked and hooked for 109 superchargers on a 10,000-mile excursion. It added 2 to 3 minutes at each end of the charge cycle for most charges. It almost sounds like he's answering a question.
He's saying that unhooking a trailer is not a big deal. You get used to it and you get fast. And I would agree that on a ATV trailer that's true, and I would argue that on a horse trailer that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to find a place to park them. I unhook trailers all the time, and I hook them up in as a matter of fact, today I've hooked up 2 trailers and I removed 2 trailers. So it's a common thing for me to do. Um, it, and it's always a pain in the ass, especially as you get older. And if you have a shoulder problem and you're cranking, then you're like, okay, well, you got to get the electric jack. Okay, those take 5 minutes to lift up. There's just all sorts of issues. I don't think it's I don't think it's so much as unhooking, because I think the unhooking, whether you have a small trailer or not, it's a no go for me. You can't, you should not have to unhook. I don't have to unhook to go to a gas station. I should not have to unhook to charge a vehicle.
So Lockbert had a question on your channel. I guess the question was for JJE. Notice they push stuff against the wall when Sandy filmed inside. Kind of curious, like they don't want everything seen. What's your take?
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
You don't want to show everything.
No. I know that they do have desks and computers set up in there. We've seen it in one of the other videos, which I thought was a little weird. But in retrospect, after seeing other things, because I saw a desk with a couple of laptops set up next to a tray FCEV last week, and what they're doing is they're attaching test equipment to the FCEV, and they're running diagnostics on it. So they're doing those same things at desks set up inside there. So they need to have the engineers, as they're testing it, not be at the Phoenix headquarters doing whatever they do up there. They need to be on site. So I know that there are desks set up there with laptops, and there was rows of them, because I don't think it's a bad idea to have the engineers that are designing this be actually next to the equipment.
Right.
So I think that might have been some of the things that they were covering up.
Right. And if you want to,
they get backlash.
If a film crew wants to come in and see how I make this show, you can bet I'm going to put up. I'm going to hide my mess and make it as palatable as I can. And that doesn't mean I have something to hide. It means there's an old dishwasher in my office. I don't want that to become part of the story, even though I just said it. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yes.
I did get some quick kudos, just kind of off topic. Mr. C, love your show. That's on yours. Kyle Stevens says ditto, or Steffens, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Kyle Stevens also. Oh, okay. You're reading.
I'm reading your
mine.
chat. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. C, I refuse to unhook the trailer at each charge spot. There's a reason gas stations are designed the way they are. 100% correct. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And I've already said that, so Mr. C and I are on the same page.
Tesla Den showed up.
Yes, he did. Hey, Tesla Den. He's late, but he's going to watch it on the replay. Great.
That's great.
And Kyle Stevens, we need LiDAR for trailers. AI to do all the work. Well, yeah, that would...
Yeah. That is not an impossible problem at all. But still, just pull through chargers, man. Especially on roadside, travel centers outside of town. The land is not scarce enough to be the issue.
I agree with that. I think there's plenty of land. Every time I go to a supercharger, a lot of them seem to be out in the middle of kind of nowhere, or it's in an existing parking lot. They set up a gas station, and some gas stations have 2 pumps. Some of them have 20. I think the speed part of charging needs to be addressed so that people can actually pull through, because that's what's going to slow down a gas station style charging station.
So PhotoGib asked, what's up with the truck's flat face? Are they not planning on driving over 30? That's a question I've wanted to know for, 30 years, is why the shape. But the truth is, a teardrop is the best shape for aerodynamics, a raindrop sort of thing. And that has a big flat, front as well. I think it's just a tradition. I think it's just a holdover from earlier times. And considering this truck was designed in Europe for the European market, the glider at least, I think they need the driver to be right up front to see exactly where his bumper is, so that for safety on smaller roads.
Are you talking about the tray?
Yes.
Okay, they did say in one of those videos that they are going to be expanding out the front. They're going to be putting, I forget whether it was cooling or HVAC or something up front, and to get more aerodynamics out of it, but they are going to put a little nose on it.
So
but it's going to be limited because if they put that on there, they're going to be limit the length of the entire vehicle.
So, for anyone just tuning in, we've only got another 10 minutes to go. So if there's any questions, ask them now, because we're going to be ending promptly at 5. I did get another super chat from JJ, who wants to know, when am I changing my channel name to my Nikola Weekend? Maybe right at the end of March, right at the very beginning of April would be my guess on that. And only for one day.
And only for a day. Okay. Maybe like around, I'm going to guess April 1st.
Somewhere around there I would be the safest bet. And then I just noticed he said, "Why you ignore me?" Well, I wasn't ignoring you. I was waiting for an opportunity.
Yes.
Elon brought out that they are going to increase output on superchargers in the next couple of years, maybe 300 or 350. May just need mega for semi and pull through, regular version 3 or 4 for CT, for Cybertruck. Yeah, I don't know. There's a ton of different potential solutions. We'll just have to wait and see which one wins. And yes, all of them can win, really.
Yeah, I agree. There are solutions out there. I would just like to see them start taking place.
Right.
Having some of this infrastructure set up beforehand.
Right.
Before electric semis start running down the road, and before people try to take their Cybertruck, and if the range is cut in half and you've got a 3-motor or 4-motor, because now we don't know what is coming out anymore, you got 500 miles of range to start off with. If it brings you down to 250, well, that's not horrible towing if you can go 250 miles, because you're going to want to take a break anyway. So if that's what that ends up at, I'm not going to be too upset. But 100 miles, stopping every 100 miles, it's got to go longer than that.
No, and your one truck doesn't have to be everything to everyone. I've also seen complaints that the bed is 4.5 feet long, which is, real short. I think the F-150 has a bed of 5.5, and 4.5 is great. If you want to haul plywood, all you have to do is stand it straight up. and not
works.
Tip all the way over.
Does the Cybertruck only have a 4?
No. I'm sorry. The Rivian has 4.5.
Oh,
no, the Cybertruck is 5.5 or 6. I don't remember. It is longer than long. I think it's 6 or 6.5. It's somebody can tell us in the chat. It is the longest of the EVs because of its shape.
Yeah, and I am a big hater of short pickup beds.
It makes it difficult.
It does make it difficult. You basically, some of these are like trunks that just don't have a trunk lid on it because they're so small. Like a Honda Ridgeline, obviously we all know it's a car, but I'm not a fan of a 4.5 foot bed. I'm trying to remember. I think I had a 5.5 foot bed in one of my vehicles, and I hated it. it because you can't put that much in it when you're thinking of buying a pickup truck to haul things. You're not getting a lot in that.
That won't fit much of a couch.
No, it doesn't. That's the thing. It's just the couch is hanging off the end, and maybe you buy it so that people don't borrow your truck to go move their couch.
Right.
I don't know, but you don't get much use out of it. My F-250 has an 8-foot bed, and the last Super Duties that I bought, all of them were the crew cab, so we had 4 doors and an 8-foot bed.
So I've got a few comments here to go through.
If you're using something like that for work, you need an 8-foot bed. But go ahead.
So Tesla Den dropped both of us a super chat, some extra support for the channel for both of us. Thank you, Tesla Den.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate that, and we appreciate you being here and commenting too, because that is fantastic. That gives us something to talk about. Makes us feel like we're not just hanging out by ourselves. Let's see. Any guesses as to when the first trucks full of Teslas will leave the factories in Texas or Berlin for the first time? January. My guess is January for both. There will be some production in each, likely before then, although Germany may have been delayed by water permits, but we shall see. We did get confirmation from Charles. Cybertruck bed is 6.5 feet. And PhotoGib also pointed that out. And Charles Jones added, unlike other trucks, no wheel wells in the bed that reduce usable space. 8 foot
That's
with the
true.
tailgate and a stop.
Okay. And I also got the same thing Mark said, 6.5 feet. Lockbert, Bear just have up his neutrality via Rivian profit. Yeah, I spent all my Rivian profits on Nikola. Long pickup interior and short bed seems to be the urban warrior style. That's true. It's just not functional. I also want to send out a thanks to Lockbird for his super chat. And JJ sent me another super chat. Thank you, JJ. And he wants to know when we're going to change to Bull's workshop. Well, when I grow horns.
So it's
Yes.
underway, is what you're saying. It's
Yeah,
already begun.
I don't want to talk about my horns. It's very problematic. Big problem.
So we've got a couple minutes left. You know what I'd like to talk about is one of the pressing concerns that you hear from people who don't understand much about EVs and only skim headlines. They always say, where are you going to get the lithium? Where are you going to get the lithium? As if lithium is super uncommon, which it is not. So
I heard you
Yeah.
can get lithium in California
It
at the
turns-
lithium store.
It turns out there's a lithium store in California. The Salton Sea, for those who don't know, is a man-made sea. I mean, I guess you could call it man-made. It's a lake that accidentally formed when they were diverting a river and the levee broke, and it took them like a year and a half to fix it. And the water has not finished evaporating. But in it, there are geothermal vents, which have enough to produce 600,000 tons of lithium a year, which is more than the U.S. currently needs. And lithium's fungible, so anything you get in one place is something you get worldwide, which means it would reduce the strain on the supply chain from other sources, and that's, just good.
Yes. And even though through this article, when you get to the end of it, you find out that Mary Barra thank you, Mary, is taking all of this. It looks like GM is looking to invest in the Controlled Thermal Resources, which is the company that's going to be producing possibly up to 300 tons of lithium once the site is fully operational. They're currently building that. So GM is going to get their hands in it. But that's still okay because it goes back to what you just said. It reduces any supply issues of say
Everyone else.
Tesla of everyone else wanting to get lithium. And lithium is a very common substance also. And it turns out that getting it from the Salton Sea is actually a very easy way to get it, as opposed to jigging through mines and having children work in mines.
And the Salton Sea is not what you would call an ecological paradise. It is a absolute dead zone. It's
a wasteland.
It is a wasteland. It is highly contaminated water from all the agricultural runoff. And honestly, if anything, this would improve the situation. Yeah, and we're getting comments here. She's a leader. Thank you, Mary. Mary, you led, and that matters.
Maybe we should just change the name of the stream
To Mary Barra Weekend.
Mary Barra charging with B&B.
Pulling a fast one with Mary Barra.
Yeah, lying with Mary Barra. Oh, thank you, Mary Barra. And you know what? Speaking of thanking, Mark, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate that. And I'm reading the next comment from Kyle. Tesla whistleblower searches are influenced by its new CyberWhistle.
You know
Some
what?
say
That is not
a new whistle.
That is not crazy. That is not crazy. When Boris Johnson was being criticized for the stupid slogans he put on the side of a bus, he went on the news and told everyone that his hobby is building miniature buses. And that way, all the search results for Boris Johnson bus would pull up these interviews instead of the incredibly ham-fisted things he had done previously by putting his message on a bus.
Funny. All right. Well, we are approaching 6 o'clock, and we do have a deadline today.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else? Is Mary Barra online? Does Mary have a question? And Lockbert says Mary looks good for her age. I don't know what her age is, so I couldn't comment.
And there were a handful of questions at the last minute there about different battery things that what we've learned about, like American Battery Technology Company or anything new with the LFPs. And the answer is I haven't heard of that company. And there hasn't really been any battery news this week that I'm aware of. So
that answers Tesla Den's question.
yeah. So a quick reminder to subscribe to Bear. He's almost at 10,000 subscribers. It would be really cool if he could make it by the end of the year. Subscribe to me if you feel like it. I don't know. Give us the thumbs up and down. If you made it this far, you clearly love us enough to at least do that. And if you're catching this on the replay, leave comments because we do see them.
Yes, and we will respond to them. And also, Brian is actually trying to get to his next milestone, which is 15,000 subs.
Yeah.
So, don't forget to take a look at his channel if you're viewing on mine, or if you are viewing on his, go ahead and hit that sub button because the subs always help us in the long run. So we would appreciate that. We appreciate your super chats, everyone that did it. We both have Patreon channels that we put them down in our description. If you want to take a look at that to help support our channels, that would be appreciated too. And we're going to be back here next week.
Next Tuesday, 4 p.m.
Next Tuesday.
Same Bear time, same Brian channel.
That's right. All right, and if that's about it, Gordon says, love you guys. Well, we love you guys too. And Mr. C, going to Salton to fly paramotors in February. Did not know about the lithium there. Bring us a sample back, Mr. C. That would be interesting. I will have my chats moved over also next week. And is that about it? We're going to wrap it up now.
Sounds good to me.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next week.